listening to Unravel with Natly Denise.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. This is episode 80. I guess I should start announcing my episodes, right? Because it's quite an accomplishment. We've had 80 episodes so far. My goodness, since the reboot of Unravel with Natly Denise, with segments like this, Nightly with Natly. Ha! The only one that says, as soon as I hit play, my power went out. Natly got magical powers. Well, I wouldn't say magical powers, but you know, I am one with the word and the Lord and stuff, you know. So I don't know if it has anything to do with me, but that's very kind of you. Thank you. What's going on, guys? Episode 80. We're gearing towards 100. My goodness, that happened so fast. Ever since I restarted when? In September? No, October. October is when I restarted this podcast, and it's been pretty good that we're consistent. I've got some regulars now. Pretty cool feeling. Thank you all for your support. Y'all, I am uploading a video right now on my YouTube main. It'll probably be ready in about 15 minutes. But I really rail on this thing that the mainstream news is trying to do, where they're trying to make the sex trafficking like thing that's going on as a myth. Like they're saying, oh, it's just a myth. People are overconflating it. And I can foresee that they're going to start saying, oh, it's QAnon, you know what I mean? You get it? The 17th letter, it's them, they're doing it. It's like, there's some legitimate headlines out there that it's not like 17 related. You understand? Like, these people, I'm going to actually get to it. I'm going to save it for my segment for the Daily TrafficK, but there's a much more meatier video that I am uploading right now to YouTube, my main YouTube, youtube.com/Natly Denise. So with that being said, what up? What's going on? Oh, I see a whole bunch of new people. Let's say hi to the chat. What's up, Rana? What's up, 𝘿𝘠𝘦? What's up, Ken? What's up, the only Warnley? Tank Darla, what's going on? Ken, thanks for always being here. Rachel, what's going on? Doves and Bass, hello. And SJS433, what's going on? So nice to see you guys engaging in the chat. Let's go ahead and it says the highest I can see is 720p. All right, am I out of focus right now? Let me see. See advanced. Oh, it's in high definition. It says, I think 720 is like the best it can do. Is it really blurry? I'm going to have to see about that. Sorry about that. I don't know. But with that being said, I apologize if it's blurry. Let me get to the news. I'm going to have to go back on my videos and see how that's showing up. I haven't actually checked, to be honest with you. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead. This is a series. We've been starting out with the word on this podcast. So we've been going through the Psalms, and today we land on Psalm 6. We went through Psalm 5 yesterday and the day before, and kind of did a part 1, part 2 of Psalm 5. And today we are going through Psalm 6. So let's check it out. What does the psalmist have to say? So it says, Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger or discipline me in your wrath. Now, remember, David, this psalm is going through the journey of David. King David is being persecuted. He's being slandered. There's an entire establishment that dethroned him, fraudulently. They cheated him out of his throne. And so I'm like, I just read Psalm because I just jumped into it without really expecting that sort of lesson in modern day. But as we read through it, it's like we're reading through all of the emotions that go through what we're coinciding with. So King David's a very righteous person. He's still human. So, he still sins, but he's going through persecution that's not right. And he's going through slander and an entire elite establishment that's coming against him. And so this has been very perfect in our understanding for today. So which leads us to Psalm 6, where he's lamenting. He starts out with lament. Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger or discipline me in your wrath. Have mercy on me, Lord, for I am faint. Heal me, Lord, for my bones are in agony. My soul is in deep anguish. How long, Lord? How long? So let's just take the first 3 verses, right? Obviously, this is lamentation. This is lament. This is anguish. The psalmist is displaying their very humanistic characteristics. How many times do we go through the valleys of our low points in human nature? Please, but also it's displaying and illustrating in verse 1, Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger or discipline me in your wrath. Have mercy on me, Lord, for I am faint. Heal me, Lord, for my bones are in agony. So the psalmist here, it illustrates that they know that they've somehow sinned, that they've somehow done something, that they're in recognition of God's presence. And so they're begging God, before his presence, please have mercy on me. I know that there's a consequence to what I did, but please have mercy on me because I'm already in lament. I'm already going through it, Lord. Please have mercy on me. I'm faint. I'm in agony. And then at the end of verse 3, it says, my soul is in deep anguish. How long, Lord? How long? How many times do we go through this notion of, gosh, God, when is it going to end? How long am I going to go through this, right? How long will we go through this? Can you shorten my trial? That's basically what we're asking God. Can you shorten my trial? And sometimes God, he allows us through a very long trial because there is something that he wants us to experience. There's something there. But it's also kind of reassuring that, this is actually something that someone else is going through the ancient text. And it shows even through humanity in ancient times how humanistic their feelings were and how parallel they are for us today. How long do we experience our trial? And I also talked about this in the previous Psalms that we went through, that you want to go through the perseverance of your trial. You don't, and I actually was talking to somebody about this today. Isn't this funny? I was talking about this with somebody today, that, many times we want to just arrive to the result, but we need the acumen and the deliverance of that character building in order for us to handle the next thing that's coming. And only God, because he's over time, knows what that is. So that's why he allows us to go through the trials. Again, I tattooed this on my hand, Proverbs 17:3, the crucible for silver and the furnace for gold, but the Lord tests the heart, because it's so applicable in every situation. We go through very arduous processes, through fire, through heat, through slander, through the bad times. But if we don't cut corners, meaning we don't find the cheap way out, and sometimes that makes more problems for us. In fact, a lot more times, most times, if not all times, it will make more problems for us, and it becomes a high maintenance situation. God allows us to go through that so that way we can persevere and build our character, so that way it will bring us up to the next level of whatever else he's going to bring us to. So we want to go through this trial, but this is a very humanistic thing to say. How long, Lord? How long? Turn, Lord, deliver me. Save me because of your unfailing love. Among the dead, no one proclaims your name. Who praises you from the grave? I'm worn out from my groaning. All night I've flooded my bed with weeping and drenched my couch with tears. My eyes grow weak with sorrow. They fail because of all my foes. Away from me, all you who do evil, for the Lord has heard my weeping. The Lord has heard my cry for mercy. The Lord accepts my prayer. All my enemies will be overwhelmed with shame and anguish. They will turn back and suddenly be put to shame. So is this not the truth here? So here, the psalmist again, and I believe we're talking about David here. So David is being persecuted. I can't say that so many times, because we have to remind ourselves what he's going through. This is what's causing him so much anguish. People just lying on him, people that want to cause him harm, people who have been radicalized by these theories and have believed the lies. So they are then mobilized to also hate David. So David here is just, oh God, this is just painful. When, how long, and he's illustrating how much he's hurt, how hurt he is through all of this. But then as I said yesterday, these Psalms, they always start out with like a lament and then they go to a praise. So listen, look how he does this. He's very transparent and open with his heart, where he's like, God, this is what I'm feeling. This is my true heart. These are my true thoughts. I can't hide away from you. So I might as well admit what they are, because God knows anyway. And so he basically confesses what is on his mind, what is on his heart. And it's very illustrative. It's very dark. Oh, I'm in anguish, my tears, the sorrow, because of my foes. But then here's the praise. Away from me, all of you who do evil, for the Lord has heard my weeping. So God, he then acknowledges that God has heard my prayer, as he keeps acknowledging. The Lord has heard my cry for mercy. The Lord accepts my prayer. All my enemies will be overwhelmed with shame and anguish. They will turn back and suddenly be put to shame. And how many times does that also happen in our lives, where, you got your haters, right? Your haters out there that lie on you. They create these slander campaigns. They create these lies and conspiracies on you. They tell the lies to other people. Those people believe those lies, and they don't check their sources. And so they lie on you, and they compound the slander and the anger and, all these icky things. And here the psalmist is saying, away from me, all you evil people. Like, I know my God heard me. I know that God's going to deliver me. I know that he detests lying and slander and evil. And you're going to be overwhelmed with what you caused me. So let that be some of your hope for today, if you are going through it. I love the Psalms. I'm just loving the series so much. And I'm about to start also studying Daniel. So if you guys want to, I can do some on Daniel as well. We can alternate. All right, let's jump to the news. All right, so Canada, things are heating up with the Freedom Convoy. Freedom Convoy, coming from the Daily Mail, is ordered to clear U.S.-Canada bridge crossing by midnight after they ignored an earlier 7 p.m. deadline. Castro, or PM Trudeau, says military action is on the table to get protesters on the move. This was only after Joe Biden. I went through this yesterday, where Joe Biden actually pressured the Canadian government. Hey, you want to get these convoys out of here, these patriots out of here, because it's going to disrupt our Super Bowl. Basically, that's what the DHS put a memo out on. We went through that yesterday. So Biden actually pressured Trudeau a little bit. Protesters blocking the Ambassador Bridge on Friday night decided to defy the headline of 7 p.m. to clear the route, setting themselves up for a showdown with police after Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that everything is on the table to end the Freedom Convoy demonstrations after speaking directly with President Joe Biden. That's scary. So they're actually considering military action on their own citizens because they have political demands that they just want met and heard. A Canadian court on Friday issued an injunction to end the blockade at the Key Bridge connecting Windsor, Ontario, and Detroit, setting up a potential showdown between the police and protesters when the 7 p.m. deadline arrives. Now, this can get very hairy, and it really makes me wonder what next will happen, because as you guys know, Canadians don't have as freely a Second Amendment the way we do in the United States, at least the southern parts, So it really makes me wonder what's going to happen. Ontario Superior Court I just heard something over there. Okay, sorry, that freaked me out. Okay. Sorry, that freaks me out. I heard something over there. Hopefully it was a dish. Okay, anyway. Let me continue. There's something in my kitchen. Ontario Superior Court Chief Justice Jeffrey Marowitz granted the injunction on Friday evening, which will last for 10 days and means that blockading the bridge is unlawful. Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, early on Friday said that his cabinet will enact orders to make it illegal to block borders and highways and will impose a $100,000 Canadian dollar fine and prison terms for those who defy them. Trudeau claimed that the protest is being fueled by political activists in the United States and said that more than 50% of donations to the campaigns to support the protesters came from the U.S., which he referred to as foreign financing of the protests. Oh, really? Oh, really? We want to talk about foreign financing? We want to talk about foreign financing? How about Biden's foreign financing from a certain country called the cat potato, or a certain faction of the country called cat potato? Are we going to talk about that, or no? Oh, okay. It's only when citizens do it. Only when citizens do it. Hey, Sophia, thanks so much for modding for me. Really appreciate you. Really, really do. So continue down. Windsor police said in a statement that anyone blocking the streets at or near the Ambassador Bridge faced arrest, vehicle seizure and forfeiture, and denial in crossing the USA border. Resident Biden, this is a quote, Resident Biden and I both agree that for security of the people and the economy, these blockades cannot continue, Trudeau said at a press briefing on Friday. Make no mistake, the border cannot and will not remain closed. Everything is on the table because this unlawful activity has to end, and it will end. I don't know, Trudeau. I don't know, Castro Jr. I don't know about that, because you were over here hiding underneath a bed for the past 2 weeks, right? And you really think that Castro Jr. has the cojones to do that? You know what I mean? And it really makes me wonder how many Canadian patriots are actually in the military that would take that sort of action. But on the contrary, we have seen police actually comply with what the city wants. They've been confiscating gas cans. They've been confiscating firewood. So that's also very disheartening. And it's very sad to see that these police, law enforcement actually comply. So on the other hand, it could be the very same case with the military. Trudeau did not offer specifics on police action in the Ambassador Bridge, which is now widely expected after the provincial premier of Ontario declared a state of emergency. Trudeau called Ontario's decision to declare a state of emergency responsible and necessary, and said that he spoke with Biden out of Americans backing the protest. We discussed the American and indeed global influences on the protest, Trudeau said. We talked about the U.S.-based flooding of the 911 phone lines in Ottawa and the presence of the U.S. citizens in the blockade and the impact of foreign money to fund this illegal activity. Illegal activity? This guy, dude, I swear, illegal activity. This is insanity. So you guys can see small footage here, protesters heckling the police enforcement, different people on the street. I mean, people are really, this is the People's Convoy. This is the one in the United States that's being planned. Several convoys were being assembled in the United States on Friday evening, preparing to drive towards the Canadian border in support of the truckers in Ontario and elsewhere. And of course, these elites are like, the peasants are plotting against us. Do something about it. That's what Biden said. The peasants are uprising against us. We can't have that. Do something about it. And so this is what, if you guys are wondering why Biden is nudging Castro, hey, you better do something about your convoy. It's because it's inspiring its own here. And you guys can see that. So with that being said, this is Daily Mail always has the longest articles ever in life. So I'm not going to go through everything, but I will give you guys a snippet of the audio from Trudeau.
President Biden and I both agree that for the security of the people and the economy, these blockades cannot continue. So make no mistake, the border cannot and will not remain closed. I want to remind everyone that politicians don't direct police in a democratic society, but I can assure you that the RCMP is working with provincial and local police departments to enforce the law. Everything is on the table because this unlawful activity has to end, and it will end. Of course, I can't say too much more now as to exactly when or how this ends, because unfortunately, we are concerned about violence.
Get the heck out of here, Castro Jr. Violence. These people have been peaceful. They have been very nice. They have cleaned up after themselves. Get the hell out of here. Look at this. Mama T says Australia is protesting here in our capital, Canberra, today also. God bless you, Australia. My heart's with you. I'm going to start actually adding you guys more on my prayer list more consistently. Love you guys. Love you guys. Fight strong. All right, let's go ahead and pivot to the next story. So you guys actually, where is this? Let's actually do this. Putin to Ukraine. All right, so Putin to invade Ukraine on Wednesday. The CIA and the Pentagon have briefed Biden and NATO allies on the imminent Russian military action, claims a new report. Biden and Putin will talk at 11 a.m. on Saturday. So you guys, actually, I believe the NHS secretary, what's his name? James Sullivan. He actually did a press briefing today, warning that if there are any Americans in Ukraine to get out immediately. And on top of that, there was another report, and it was actually in what is the Ukrainian tongue? It was, I think it was like a governmental Ukrainian document that was published that they were beefing up their defense to like 2 million, I believe. I think it was like 2 million. Let me look at my post really quick. Ukraine Defense Forces to 2 million people. Yep. So they're telling people to leave Ukraine. Russia is to launch an attack on Ukraine next Wednesday, February 16th, according to Der Spiegel. Now, I don't know that Vladimir Putin, I don't know that he would announce it like that. You know what I mean? Like Vladdy just seems, Vladimir Putin is Vladdy. I think Vladdy would be much more secretive, strategic than to announce his moves like that. But I don't know. It might be real. Who knows? Information received by the Secret Service, CIA, and other intelligence services has uncovered detailed plans. The info stipulated the routes he will likely be taken by individual Russian units and roles they might play. The White House has publicly underscored that the U.S. does not know with certainty whether Putin is committed to an invasion. However, U.S. officials said anew that Russia's buildup of offensive air, land, and sea firepower near Ukraine has reached the point where it could invade on short notice. The White House on Friday ordered Americans to leave Ukraine immediately as officials stepping up warnings. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that Russia was positioned to launch an invasion any day now. So it seems to be like a pregnant military operation. Such would be the onslaught of there was no prospect of U.S. evacuation for anyone who stays. So look, this is why I posted it on my Instagram today, because listen, like we don't know what to trust, right? Like right now, like everything is just so jumbled and mixed up and entrenched and entangled. You know, we don't, especially when it comes to like the military affairs of the United States and, you know, the adversaries, or maybe they're not so much adversaries, to adversarial ties that we have. We just don't know what to trust. So it's like we saw how Afghanistan went. And so my thing was like, look, if there's any chance that we can avoid Afghanistan type of stuff, please get out of Ukraine if you're an American. Susan, this too, as I also was confused by this as well, Susan. I'm surprised they even warned the Americans. I know. And American Vegan Patriot says, it's propaganda. It's American propaganda. Truly, truly, there's nothing happening in Ukraine and Russia. I surely hope not. So, again, I don't know. We don't know what to believe, right? Because the only thing that we have to go off of are recent events. Afghanistan was a nightmare, absolute tragedy. And so if there's any sort of forewarning, I would take it. I'm just saying it's better to be safe than sorry. Minutes later, President Biden left the White House for a weekend at Camp David presidential retreat. Are you kidding me? You're going to a retreat when we're on the brink of war? He ignored reporters' questions and instead posed with staff for photographs before boarding Marine One. A White House official said he would stay in touch with officials and will speak to Vladimir Putin on Saturday. I wonder how that phone call is going to go, right? Vladdy's probably going to give him a good spanking on the phone or something. Earlier, Biden briefed partners and allies on the latest developments. Diplomatic sources said that he told them that Putin had made up his mind to attack. It marked an increase on the level of warning sounding from Washington and sent oil prices higher on the day. My goodness. So the White House has publicly underscored that U.S. does not know with certainty whether Putin is committed to an invasion. So the thing is, like, it could just be fear porn, to be honest with you. But again, this is foreign soil. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what dumb mistakes this guy's going to do, right? We don't know what dumb mistakes this guy's going to do, President Biden. So just to be safe, safer than sorry, get out. Get out if you can. All right. Speaking of CIA, it was recently revealed by two Democrats, actually, that the CIA, and this is sourced from the Daily Mail, CIA has a secret surveillance program called Deep Dive that has been collecting Americans' personal information for years without congressional approval, Democratic senators say. The CIA has been collecting the personal information of Americans for years in a secret surveillance program that has no congressional approval, according to a newly declassified letter released by a pair of Democratic senators, said late Thursday night. Okay, you guys want to know a secret? You guys want to know a secret? I always think that they're looking at, I always think that they're like in my business. You know what I mean? Like, I always think that they're like, we got Carls everywhere. We all got assigned agents everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't surprise me. Like, this is kind of like, okay. And isn't that sad? Is that not sad? This does not surprise me not one bit that CIA has like a secret surveillance. I mean, it doesn't surprise. I know that sounds sad, but it doesn't surprise me. Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon and Martin Heinrich of New Mexico are branding the collection warrantless backdoor searches. They sent a letter to the top intelligence officials asking for more details about the program to be declassified and demanded immediate action. The program is entirely outside the statutory framework that Congress and the public believe govern this collection, and without any of the judicial, congressional, or even executive branch oversight that comes from Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act collection, the senators wrote. The CIA also released parts of the still classified programs Deep Dive and Deep Dive 2, which are believed to be massive data repositories, but in heavily redacted material. I wonder how long this has been going on. The members of the Senate Intelligence Committee sent a letter asking about the program on April 13th, 2021, but it wasn't declassified until Thursday, and large parts of it were redacted. The Privacy and Liberties Oversight Board has provided the Senate Intelligence Committee with a report on the program in March of 2021. And the Democrats are the ones that are like squirming about this, you know? It says it's not clear when the surveillance occurred or what type of data was mined from the Americans. Here's the thing too, like what was her name? What was the CIA director's name? I'm losing it right now. What was her name? CIA, it's at the tip of my tongue. CIA director, former. Not John Brennan, former CIA. It was a woman. What was her name? I need to know her name right now, or else I'm going to lose it. You guys will probably find it before I do. Gosh, I can't find it. I don't know why it won't show me. But the way she abruptly quit her director level position. You guys remember right when Trump exited office, she like quit the day before. What's her name? I forget her name. Anyway, head of CIA. So don't you guys think that maybe there's some correlation there somehow? Maybe? Am I looking too much into it? Gosh, I'm just gonna for CIA. Oh, you know what? CIA Director 2020. Gina Haspel. That's it. Gina Haspel. That's it. Gina Haspel was her name. So Gina Haspel, she was the CIA director until like literally running right into Biden's inauguration. And if the Democrats, I mean, I'm not trying to put it together right now, right? But I'm just thinking out loud. If the Democrats are squirming and they're the ones who are demanding information, and this woman who is the director of the CIA quit like right before Biden's inauguration, you know what I mean? Like, what's been going on? I don't know. I'm just trying to put it together. I'm not trying to solve it, but I'm just trying to put things together. The CIA released a series of redacted recommendations about the program issued by an oversight panel known as the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board, according to the document. A pop-up box warns the CIA analysts about the program that seeking any information about U.S. citizens or others covered by privacy laws requires a foreign intelligence purpose. However, analysts are not required to memorialize the justification of their queries, the board said, meaning that they don't really have to log it. Both senators who are requesting information have long pushed for more transparency from the intelligence agencies. Nearly a decade ago, a question Wyden posed to the nation's spy chief presaged critical revelations about the NSA's mass surveillance programs. Interesting. So I guess we're just going to have to wait to see what comes out of this, but it doesn't surprise me, to be honest with you. All right, so let's move it into the Daily TrafficK, where I bring you guys the latest in human and sex trafficking news. All right, this is coming from justice.gov. Oops. Put my brand up. All right, here we go. Okay, so this is coming from justice.gov. 5 members of a family-run sex trafficking organization receive a lengthy prison sentence in Brooklyn federal court. The defendants forced young women and girls from Mexico into prostitution in the United States for over a decade. 5 members of a family-run sex trafficking organization were sentenced this week to prison terms of nearly 40 years in prison by the United States Judge Aileen R. Ross in federal court in Brooklyn. Jose Miguel Melendez Rojas was sentenced to 39 years and 6 months in prison. Jose Osvaldo, Osvaldo, I don't know how to pronounce it, Osvaldo Melendez Rojas and Rosario Melendez Rojas were each sentenced to 39 years and 4 months in prison. Francisco Melendez Perez and Abel Romero Melendez were sentenced to 25 years and 20 years in prison, respectively. The defendants were also ordered to pay restitution to their victims. Good. Restitution means kind of like reparations. You can think of it like that, but for sex trafficking survivors. It's for any damages that were caused to them in various ways. It can be psychological, it can be physical, but restitution is always a good thing to find in these types of cases. So they were ordered to pay restitution to their victims. The defendants were convicted by a federal jury in March of 2020 of sex trafficking conspiracy, sex trafficking of minors, interstate prostitution, alien smuggling, and money laundering conspiracy. A sixth co-defendant, Fabian Reyes Rojas, pleaded guilty to sex trafficking conspiracy and sex trafficking in December of 2019 and is awaiting sentencing. Now, this is what I want to say about this, right? So this was back in 2020, right, where they first, I guess, charged these people running this ring. What this sounds like to me is a foreign trafficking ring from Mexico. And if this was happening back in 2020, imagine how many more are running right now as we speak. How many more of these same rings that we're reading about right now that are facing a prison sentence, how many more of those are out there right now as we speak with the porous borders? They talk about everything right here. This is everything. Sex trafficking conspiracy, child trafficking, interstate prostitution, alien smuggling, money laundering. This is everything that we're seeing today with the open borders. They say through false promises of a better life, the defendants ensnare young, vulnerable victims and in a sordid world of sex trafficking and used violence, cruel threats of force to get them into prostitution, said the United States Attorney Peace. Today's lengthy sentence reflects the immeasurable harm of the defendant's brutality and exploitation inflicted on these young women and girls, and the commitment of this office and its law enforcement problems to combating human trafficking in all its forms. Stated United States Attorney Peace, I applaud the courage shown by the victims who testified and hope that the sentences of the court meted out will help them find closure on their path to healing. I commend the diligent and compassionate work of the Eastern District of New York prosecutors and HSI agents and thank them for bringing in the defendants to justice. The traffickers in this case used deception and coercion to sell dreams of a better life in the United States to young and impressionable women who arrived only to be forced into a life of torment, misery, sexual abuse, and prostitution at the hands of their captors, stated HSI Acting Special Agent Charge Patel. The conviction and the sentencing of these traffickers represent the culmination of imperative investigation and could not have been possible without the cooperation and testimony of these brave victims. Between 2006 and July of 2017, the defendants transported young and vulnerable Mexican women and girls, some of whom were minors, children, to the United States and forced them to work in prostitution. By the way, once again, this is just a blueprint of what's going on right now as we speak. Future proves past. They're doing it right now. This is exactly what's happening right now. You can't tell me we have all this open border and this is not happening again. The defendants used false promises of love marriage, and a better life to lure the women and girls into romantic and sexual relationships, and isolated their victims from their families by bringing them to live with them at the defendants' homes in 𝘚𝘗𝘮𝘢, Mexico. I've never heard of 𝘚𝘗𝘮𝘢. The defendants then used physical and sexual violence and threats and fraud to coerce their victims to work in prostitution in New York City, Long Island, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Delaware. The defendants took the proceeds generated from the victims' prostitution and laundered them to conceal their source. 6 victim witnesses testified at trial regarding the physical and sexual violence they endured at the hands of the defendants. It's important to hear this, okay? I know this part of my podcast is always hard to hear, and it's hard to like conceptualize these stories, but there are so many. You guys know, like, we go through so many different stories every single night. Every single night that we have a podcast, there's always a different story. And that's why it's important to talk about these things, because there's domestic trafficking. And right now we're talking about what is happening at the border, especially that they're talking about minors, they're talking about kids that are coming across the border through these relationships. Right now, we visibly have unaccompanied minors coming through right now. And at least 50% of these minors can never be contacted again. Or their sponsors, right? So is it that this could be possibly happening? One victim, identified as Diana, testified that she was smuggled into the United States as a minor and forced to work as a prostitute, which is child rape. It's not prostitution, child rape. When she tried to escape, Jose Miguel Melendez Rojas beat and raped her in front of other members of the household, including Rosalio Melendez Rojas and Abel Romero Melendez. Another victim, identified as Delia, testified that she was forced into prostitution by Francisco Melendez Perez and his uncle Rosalio Melendez Rojas when she was 14 years old. When she refused to work, she was beaten. Victims Fabiola and Maria also testified that they were forced to work as prostitutes through the threats, physical abuse, and forced abortions by Rosalio Melendez Rojas and Jose Osvaldo Melendez Rojas. Victim Daisy testified that she was forced into prostitution by Fabian Reyes. Victim Veronica testified that the trial that Jose Miguel threatened her and her family, telling her that they would chop her and her mother up into little pieces if she did not work in prostitution for this benefit. Now, let me just pause there. You don't think that these girls may have witnessed that along the way, or, with another victim, or have definitely heard like second degree of connection through people that has actually happened? These efforts have resulted, I'm right here, I'm going to jump down right here. These efforts have resulted in successful prosecutions in both Mexico and the United States, including U.S. federal prosecutions of more than 170 defendants in multiple cases in Georgia, New York, Florida, and Texas, in addition to numerous federal and state prosecutions of associated sex traffickers in Mexico. The convictions of this case are the latest development in the Eastern District of New York's comprehensive anti-trafficking program, which is indicted more than 100 defendants for sex trafficking, assisted more than 180 victims, including over 40 children. Reuniting. Okay, get this part. Get this part right here. Get this part right here. So this entire program that resulted in this type of justice for these victims here that were trafficked from Mexico to the United States, programs like this have rescued 180 identifiable victims. 40 of them are minors, and 19 of these children have been reunited with their mothers. This is why I rail against this. This is why I talk about it, because what's happening at the border is that these children are coming over with as unaccompanied minors, with single adult males. And if it is evidenced right here that 19 victims that were identified were reunited with their mothers, what is actually happening? When these single adult males come over the border and say that they're that child's father, is that really their father? No, most of the time. What's really going on? Where are most of these mothers? Did they snatch these kids out of their mother's arms? I mean, it's just one, this is one case, guys. This is one case out of New York. Ooh. All right, pivoting on. Police say more arrests possible after 13 jailed in human trafficking sting in Sumner County. So this is coming from Tennessee. They thought they were meeting up with, this is sourced from News Channel 5 Nashville, WTVF. They thought that they were meeting up with the 16-year-olds, but they came face to face with police officers instead. 13 men would each spend between 15 and 25 years in prison if they're found guilty of sex charges, following a human trafficking sting in Sumner County. The group included a Metro employee as well as a part-time music teacher. At a press conference on Thursday, police said their work was just getting started. There may be more arrests pertaining to this operation other than 13 that showed up, said Detective Lisa Byington of the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. Last week, police said 100 men responded to fake advertisements they created offering up a teenager for sex. I'd say 50 actually started the initial conversation with our undercover officers. Those of 50, 13 showed up. I would like to say none showed up. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, Byington said. Officer described that a sting that helps children being sold for sex would look like. People there from End Slavery, Tennessee. Once we got them in there, if they wanted help, they needed that help. We were able to get them that, Byington said. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office, Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, Department of Homeland Security with local police hope to carry out that operation soon. All right. And 11 men. This is coming from KWWL. 11 men in Iowa, including a county treasurer. Get this, a county treasurer was arrested in prostitution charges in Dubuque, Iowa. Dubuque police and the county sheriff's office have arrested 11 men for allegedly soliciting prostitution as a part of a 2-day investigation into human trafficking. According to the court records, officers posted ads on social media sites pretending to be prostitutes. People then responded to those ads to pay for sexual services. Undercover officers told them to meet at Mainstay Suites at 1275 Associates Drive, where the men were then arrested and charged. The investigation took place between Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday morning. One of the men arrested was charged with prostitution is Randy Wadewer, who is the county treasurer of Dubuque County. All men were charged with prostitution, but some were also charged with possession of drugs or interference of official acts. Get that. A city treasurer arrested in a prostitution sting. It's so sad. But that also evidences that every single walk of life is included. There's no walk of life that's excluded from trafficking. There's no walk of life that is excluded as a perpetrator. It affects everybody. Okay. So with that being said, you guys have a great weekend. I need me a little bit of a rest, although, I need me a little bit of rest. Although I'm going to be working tomorrow, I'll be kind of more at rest. So I hope you guys have a restful weekend as well. Thank you all so much for always supporting me and always being here. I appreciate your consistency and my viewership. Really do. Hey guys, be sure to tell somebody about this podcast. Share it in your groups, in your Telegram groups, your Instagram groups, wherever you are. Share them there. Tell them about me. I really appreciate you guys. And with that being said, you guys have a great weekend. I will catch you guys on Monday, unless something crazy happens over the weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Unravel with Natly Denise. Please give this podcast 5 stars.